Clap shit, this that crow interview. Come get it from the homies. Insane Crip. All that, yeah, all that, yeah, all that, yeah, all that. Yeah, you see it, exclusive, yeah, on day. What's the deal, big homie?
Oh man, you know, nothing like the other one.
Exclusive.
Straight up.
So check it out. What's your opinion on advancing the black community within prison?
That's a good question. Well, I feel, man, that first we got to come together as a people and unify. Once we can unify and get on one page, man, we can generate our financial gains into the same pot and advance on the financial level. Once we advance on the financial level, then we can open the doors for other things, man. But most importantly, we have to come together as a people, man, to get along. First of all, let's blur these color lines. You know what I'm saying? Within the color line. What I mean by that is, even though we black and we separated from other races, we separate ourselves from different sections within ourselves.
Yeah.
Say for instance, up north Crips, south Crips, Bloods, and versa. Once we can combine and just make it all one unity, we can advance, man, on a whole different level. You know, they fears gonna be strong. And you know, what I would suggest to facilitate will be to reach out to the young, man. You know what I'm saying? You got the young homies running around in here. You know, you need to cut back on the intake of drugs, especially heavy drugs.
Man.
That's mind altering, you know what I'm saying? Because
Like that spice.
like that spice, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not, you know, these drugs that's going around today is not black men drugs.
Man.
We don't do household chemicals. When we do that at? When do we start doing that? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you see how they be? You see how that shit be having their minds all fucked up and having their body doing all them out of body experiences and shit.
Yeah.
You know, cause I be seeing them videos when they be posting them on the internet and they got them dudes on the ground, you know, doing the cha-cha and shit off the spice, man. You know, so yeah, we want to keep the younger youth off that spice, man. Don't do that shit. That's a no-go.
Yeah.
You got any policies about that shit with your homies?
As far as my homies, man, as far as the hoopers, man, and you know, you got some dudes that dibble and dabble in that shit that I've heard about. I never personally seen a homie from Hooper that's off the spice to the point where it's like, wow, what's going on? But I have heard stories. I have been in company of a person that have been under the influence of spice. But I never, you know, we never had a problem on my watch where I'm at with a dude that just, you know, do all that robotic stuff you're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
I'm insane, yeah.
If they do that, we would address that accordingly.
Now, when you say address, right? Let me get into depth. Do you guys have any other alternative to violence solutions when it comes to people wigging out on something that they might have took and not been able to control themselves and did some catting off?
It's like this, man. In the environment that we are in, self-respect is very important, and fronting off is very important. See, when you hold yourself to a certain standard, man, you have to refrain from these things that will jeopardize your manhood and jeopardize your reputation. And what I've seen, people under the influence of spice don't have control of these things. So when you have lack of self-control and lack of self-control of your body, you start doing strange things that bring attention to the collective.
Yeah.
Once you bring attention to the collective, you will be disciplined to a certain degree. You know, some people.
And it ain't always hands-on. Is it alternative to violent solutions for people that might slip in? Some of these dudes is good fellas though, right? And they just took a bad hit of spice.
Like I was getting to, right? You don't always have to physically deal with the situation. There's other alternatives you can deal with for working out, you know, stuff like that. But man, what I see nowadays, man, you know, the old saying, man, people don't respect nothing but bodies. So sometimes a self-check, a physical check is necessary to show people that it's serious business. It's not a game. This is really a serious environment. So when you're under the influence of spice or any mind-altering drug that have you slacking on your business, it's a risk.
Yeah.
You know, it's a liability. So you want to do things to refrain from being liable for this kind of behavior that can bring down the whole collective.
Yeah.
It can cause another homie to get hurt real bad on the yard. You can cause yourself to be hurt real bad on the yard.
Yeah.
You know,
So based on the severity of the spice attack, the discipline could vary from being extreme or just being because you know I had a situation where my homies had some spice attacks. In some situations, they had spice attacks that affected other members on the yard, other collectives. You know, where they took some spice and ran through an area on the yard they wasn't supposed to be in. Other cases where they ran into somebody's cell they wasn't supposed to be in, and that other race might have had every go to do what he doing. Why that, you know? Because if you ran in my cell off spice, I wouldn't give a fuck what you off. You know what I mean? We gonna get your ass. So I'm just trying to ask if it's different ways to look at situations, and depending on the severity of the situation, do you judge off your ruling with your homies with an iron fist every time, or do you have some type of like humanity to show in those incidents?
yeah, I mean, you basically set it up. You know, you basically summed it up. So, you know, that's how we perceive this situation.
Real shit. All right, so moving on. So we was talking about the advancement of the black community within prison. What about financial advancement? What's your ideas and takes on financially advancing us?
In order to be financially secure in prison, I think people need to come together and have more trust in each other than they have now. It's more of a dog-eat-dog environment. Once we can shake that dog-eat-dog mentality, we can come to an advance as a people. You know, once we can respect order and exercise structure, I think once we trample that to get over that hurdle, man, financial gains can be unlimited. You know, things can be done, man.
Right.
You know, as far as recirculating revenues, coming together, investing in one another. Not only can those revenues can be used to advance our financial momentary gain or tangible goods.
Right.
It also can obtain a lawyer to help us get release dates. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like this, man. If you have a person that's willing to sacrifice a certain percentage of his income to finance another brother, man, that need help, and you got 2 or 3 dudes that's being helpful, helping financially, that can advance the black community. That can advance. It can show unity, and it can show that we know how to come together for a better good.
Yeah.
You know?
And I seen some cases where, you know, dudes came to prison with $0, didn't have no money to pay for lawyers, and got fucked over by having them public defenders, you know, kind of screw them up and send them up on a chain. And they come to the yard and they start reading books. They start, you know, hustling and shit like that, getting into the trades and the tricks of the trades of the yard to make money. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I seen some of them dudes raise some money to buy themselves lawyers and buy themselves out of prison. And I seen other incidents where them dudes teamed up with other, you know, powerhouses on the yard and created businesses. So what's your opinion on how to go about them things?
But you need a support system. You know, a lot of people that's incarcerated don't have a lot of support. A lot of people they can be called on to hold their money or to utilize their money in an effective way. You know, a lot of people is going through things out there, but once we can come together, man, and trust one another, like I said before, we can't obtain that without trust. Sometimes you got to crawl before you walk. So you have to establish trust, exercise integrity. Money can come in between some of the best people. You know what I'm saying? So once you can look over the value of the dollar and value your brotherhood versus the momentary gain, then we will be a bigger people and we'll be a bigger stronghold within the penal system, even on the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you look at it like this, man. If you have 5 people or 500 people that was trying to do something to advance themselves or to have a function or some kind of event, and they say, well, look, man, pay $5 to get into the event. Let's say, for instance, you had the Million Man March, right? You had 1 million black people showed up that was accounted for. If each black person donated $5, that's $5 million easy.
Yeah.
A person won't go broke by giving them $5. You can panhandle $5. So with that $5 million, that can advance the black community.
Yeah.
That's way more money to help families. You know what I'm saying? That's going through some struggles, or you know what I'm saying, some life, hardship.
Yeah.
So not only could you help people financially, you can obtain property. You can purchase property to help people. You can purchase lawyers to help people that can't afford a lawyer that's in here, like me.
Yeah.
So it don't just stop within the penal system. This work on the street too, man. This can happen in our community. Or to really on a personal. If we don't implement
Had little